All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to our Meal Solutions Monday class, where we are in this really cool theme, talking all about flyer to fork. And I'm going to get into what that means in a moment. But of course, the gist of today and every Monday is to provide you with these easy, affordable meal solutions to kind of take one less stressor off of your plate. I see so many things on the internet about why did I sign up as an adult to have to cook meals every day for the rest of forever, right? So the hope is that you learn some ideas during this class and all of our classes to help you out with that venture in life, okay? But what does flyer to fork mean? How are we translating that into our meal solution class? What it means here is that we're focused on our sales circular or our weekly sales ad. So that piece of paper that you see when you walk in the door, or maybe you're checking it out different ways online and whatnot. We are going to be bringing that to life by picking a few items that are on sale and featuring it in a meal. So today's specific recipe that we're going to be making is going to be some pork chop with spiced butternut squash. And I think it's a really great day for it. We finally have, a chill in the air. I know where I am, especially, it is a bit windy. There was a little rain this morning. So it's just a nice day to have a bit of a heartier meal, I think, but one that doesn't require a whole lot of effort, which you'll see. We're going to hopefully be able to make this meal today from start to finish during class after I ramble on here a little bit more with my presentation. But this may be a review for some of you, but it's always good to just remember how you can find our weekly ad. It can be in your mailbox. You can find it in our stores. Like I said, that paper copy when you walk in the door. And it is, of course, also digital. So whether you find it on our website or if you have a smartphone, I would highly recommend that you download the Giant or Martin's app so you can access it that way. If you are finding it on our website, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so at the top, when you go over to those different tabs, you'll just click on the weekly ad. Underneath that, you can find it two different ways. The grid view is simply going to look like a listing of everything that's on sale, compared to the print view is what you're going to see that I have pulled up here, where it looks like that paper copy, but it's here digitally. Also, you'll see there on the right, I'll point out that you can open it up as a PDF, which means that it's like that paper copy that you have, and you can save it to your computer or your phone if you want to access it later without having to pull up our website. If you are using your app on your smartphone, you're just going to open that up and scroll down, and you'll see that the weekly ad is listed. You can not only view the weekly ad that is current, but also next week's ad, depending on what day you access this. All right. So our ads run from Friday to the following Thursday. So the here that you can start planning for the next week by accessing it there. Okay. I also see that some things are coming up on my screen about my internet being unstable. Like I said, it's very windy where I am, so hopefully that doesn't play a role and you guys can still see and hear me okay. Once you find what you are looking at that's on sale, and if you want some inspiration, I highly encourage you to go to our Savory Recipe Resource Center. So you can, find some things that you would like to cook up. If you are on our website, you just scroll over to recipes and the Savory site will pop up, and you can do a lot of different searches from there. So I decided today to focus on our pork chops. They are a great digital coupon right at the beginning of our sales ad. And so I searched for pork chops, and then I added some filters in. So down below there on the left-hand side where you see advanced filters, you can say, hey, I want, pork chops that fit into the fall season, or maybe you're gluten-free, so you're looking for ones that don't have breading on them. I specifically did a filter with guiding stars. So guiding stars being that nutrition navigation system within our stores and our website to help you find better products, better recipes. So the recipe that we are making today does earn one guiding star, okay? And this is it. Here it is in all of its glory, pork chops with spiced butternut squash. I think it looks lovely, and I'm so excited to dive into making it here. Both of the links are listed on this slide, so if you save this presentation, once you get it in your follow-up email, you'll have them bookmarked in there. Here are the ingredients. And I did keep all of those the same for the most part. Didn't really do much switching up, just in terms of portion sizes. I did a little bit. Okay, you'll see here that this is calling for a whole 1 pound pack of pork chops. And we're going to make some adjustments with that. If you're cooking for 1 or 2, don't feel like you have to make this whole recipe. Okay. What is on sale that we are featuring in the recipe? Like I said, we're bringing that sales ad to life. So prices and availability may differ or vary depending on where you are. But the big one that we are highlighting in my sales ad for the week would be these pork chops. Okay, specifically the family size ones that you can get that digital coupon for. Now this pack in particular is bigger than 1 pound, all right? It's the family size. So make as many or as little as you want. Freeze the rest. Save some for the next day. However you want to do it. I'm only going to be cooking up 2 pork chops today rather than a whole pound or this whole family size pack. But this is a great deal. And like I said, you can freeze them to use later. What else is on sale? We have a lot of apples on sale. There's actually a really great page in the circular that is just full of Apple products that are on sale. Why is that a big deal? It's because tomorrow is National Apple Day. If you've been hanging out with us in our produce spotlight classes for the month, you know we're chatting all about Team Pumpkin versus Team Apple. So Charlotte will be focused on the apple again tomorrow since it is National Apple Day. So that'll be a good one to check out tomorrow, okay? But these are the different Apple products that are on sale right now that you'll see in our sales ad. Everything from the local tote bag apples, which is what I'm using today, to loose apples, our Nature's Promise organic bagged apples, the pre-cut slices, whether they're red or green, those are also on sale, and our brand of apple cider. So last week for Produce Spotlight, I did apple cider, and we made the apple cider baked donuts and the mulled cider. And guys, I have got to tell you that both were so good. Make both of those recipes. The donuts, the cider, oh, so good. Okay, so pick up some cider, pick up some apples to make both of those recipes happen because they are on sale this week. Here are the directions for what we are making today. I know I went on to a tangent about the apples, but coming back to the pork chops and whatnot here, these are the directions that we are going to be going over for that. So I'm going to go ahead and get my pan heated up here, and we're going to stop sharing this screen and pull up our ingredients and make these pork chops. Okay, so right now you should be seeing my ingredients over here. Yes, if I have some thumbs up, that would be great. Perfect. Okay, so like I said, I am only going to be making 2 pork chops today. I don't want to overdo it. And the recipe calls to salt, pepper these on both sides, which I did. And then I'm going to put them in my skillet where I already have it heating up with, the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of olive oil. But since I'm not using all of those pork chops, I'm just using 1 tablespoon of olive oil. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in my pan over here. I know that you can't see the pan, but just trust me that that's what I'm doing. I will pan over to the pan here in a moment, okay? We want to cook those on each side for about 3 minutes, and then we will flip them, okay? So I'm gonna look at my time here and keep an eye on that. But we're gonna work on some other ingredients while those pork chops are starting up, okay? So in my bowl here, we're gonna start working with the butternut squash. Over here, I already have 2 tablespoons of water as well as 2 tablespoons of butter that I have just diced up. To that, we are going to add the butternut squash, okay? If butternut squash is something that it intimidates you, I would say totally buy this pre-cut butternut squash from our produce department. You could break down the butternut squash yourself, but this is my go-to. I love this time of year. It just makes things a lot easier and faster in the kitchen, okay? So recipe calls for 14 ounces. This is a 20-ounce container, so I'm not going to use all of this, but let me go ahead and open it up. I'll use a decent chunk of it here. We also sell butternut squash halves. So if you have a recipe that calls maybe to roast butternut squash in the oven, like butternut squash halves, you can find those in our produce department as well. Okay. All right. That looks to be good there. You could go ahead and make that whole container if you would rather, and then just add more seasoning into it. Whatever you would like to do with that is fine. Okay. So, but once again, I have the 2 tablespoons of water in here. I have the 2 tablespoons of butter, and now I've added my 14 ounces of butternut squash. To that, I'm going to be adding a half a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. All right. So, don't put the pumpkin pie spice away after you're done because we're going to need that later on. Let me go ahead and toss this. Oh, it already smells good. I'm excited. Then we're going to steam this in the microwave, okay? That's aside. Before I steam it, I am going to lift my pork here. So give me just a moment to do that. Okay, so I did 3 minutes on one side, now 3 minutes going on the other. So to steam the butternut squash, I'm going to get some plastic wrap and we're going to put that on the top. I feel like I've probably mentioned this to you all before, but plastic wrap is like my least favorite thing in life. Oh, it's working for me today because it usually doesn't work for me. Like I'm usually struggling to get it on and for it to stick and all of that. But hey, it worked out today. Perfect. Okay. So I wrapped this up. Now I'm going to, oh, here, you stay over there. Okay. Now I'm going to just vent the top a little bit here. All right. I'm going to put this in the microwave for 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, and then that'll be good to go. Okay. So while the butternut squash is going and our pork chop is still going, we're going to work with our apple here. Okay. Like I said, I'm using the tote bag apples that are local in our stores right now. We have a lot of different varieties. Today I'm using the Gala apple. I am not going to peel this, all right? I want to leave some of that fiber intact with the skin. I'm just going to thinly slice it. So we'll go ahead and do that. Guys, everything is really starting to smell really good. Okay, those pork chops, I can smell like the pepper on them right now. And I'm really excited about this meal. I feel like pork chops is one of those things that people tend to forget about, right? We're always cooking up chicken, we're always cooking up beef, but pork is a wonderful option, a great protein, lots of B vitamins. So let's not forget about the pork chop, okay? So we're going to keep slicing our apples here. And then by the time we're done with that, I think our pork chops will be good for both sides. We are going to continue to cook our pork chops a little bit later. So if you're worried and thinking, how can the pork chops be done yet? Don't worry. We'll still cook them a little bit longer here in a moment. Okay. All right, almost done with this apple. All right, perfect. Okay, so let me push this to the side here real quick. And, well, actually, we're going to keep that here. Okay, let's move you guys over to the pan. Okay, so here we have our pork chops going. I'm going to go ahead and turn those off. Okay, we did those for 3 minutes on both sides. Now back here at this pan, I have 2 tablespoons of water, and I'm going to add our apples in with that. Okay. And we are going to saute them. I'm going to cover them, cook them, and saute them for about a minute or 2 here. All right, let me just double check something. Okay, yep, all right. So those are starting to heat up. Like I said, I am going to cover them. Let me get them a little bit more coated in this water back here. Okay, good. All right, that is looking good. Keep an eye on my time. The recipe says to take these pork chops off, probably so they stop cooking, but then also it talks about adding this pan to this pan, but my pan sizes are a little different. So I am going to keep these pork chops in the pan that they are in. I turned my heat off. I'm just going to remove them from heat a little bit so they do stop that cooking process, but I'm going to leave them in there. Okay. My apples are starting to cook back here. Let me show you. We're going to go back over here. Okay. Let me show you what else we're going to be adding to the apples here in a moment. Okay. So in this bowl here, I have 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So this really is going to be a beautiful dish with these different flavors of the apple that goes so well with pork, the maple, which also goes so well with pork. And then to this maple syrup, this is where the rest of that pumpkin spice comes into, okay? So we're going to do the remaining 1 teaspoon of pumpkin spice in there. Okay. Let me give that a little mix. After the apples are done cooking here in about another minute, we will add this to our apples and then put that on our pork. But I hope you guys can tell already how much of a lovely fall dish this is going to turn out to be here, okay? The butternut squash is done. Let me pull that out. Okay. So here's that. I'm going to keep the plastic wrap on it just until we are ready to plate everything. But once again, you can see that we steamed it, all of that steam that's collected on top. And so it kind of depends with butternut squash of what texture vibe you want to go for, right? I love roasted butternut squash in the oven where it's going to get a little bit of a crispness on the outside, where this type that is steamed, of course, is going to be a bit on the softer side. But whichever direction you want to go, roasting is, of course, going to take much longer. The meal we're making today is supposed to be like a quick 15-minute type situation. So I think that this could be really great for this type of meal, but also something that I like to encourage folks to do is to add butternut squash this time of year to salad. So if you are making a nice fall salad, say with apples over here, this would be a great way to use these leftovers, is take what was left over from this package of butternut squash, do another round of steaming with it, put it on top of a salad with some of these apples, and it'll just be really lovely, I think. Okay, so let's go back over to our pans. Okay, you can see back here the apples are going, those cooked up nicely. Let's add our maple syrup mixture to that. Okay, just gonna put that right on top. All of those nice spices going in. I don't want to miss out on those. Okay, I should really get a spatula, but we'll make do here. All right. Now we are going to just mix those a bit. I'll turn that heat off and bring back our pork chops over here. Turn these back on. Okay. The apples are really nice and soft. Okay. Now, I will say that this amount of apples is meant to go on top of more pork chops, but I didn't make all of the pork chops, but I'm okay very much so with having a higher ratio of apples to the pork because I just think it's going to taste really great, okay? But you could have downsized the amount of apples that you did if you wanted to, okay? So we're just going to keep that over the pork like this. Cook this up here for another minute or two just to make sure that our pork is nice and done in the center. But once again, I feel like already it's looking really, really great here. Okay. We can go ahead and while that's cooking, let's go back over to our butternut squash. And we can start plating this so it's ready for our pork chops then. Okay. Get out a plate. Let me get something to scoop some of this butternut squash on here. Oh, doesn't that look good? It looks so yummy. Okay. I cooked my butternut squash for 4 minutes. You could do up to 5 if you don't feel like it's tender enough for you. Once again, it's all a texture thing here. And we'll do one more over like that. Okay. Let me check on the temperature of my pork. We need the internal temperature of pork to be 145. Let me check this here. Oh yeah, we're definitely there. Okay, let me check this one. Perfect. Okay. So let me move this out of the way. Oh, that's hot. Okay. And we will turn the pork off. Let me get it on the plate here for you to see just a moment. Okay. There is that. Doesn't that just look good? Now I made a mess. Here, let's clean that up. Okay. Now what I'm also going to do is because that maple syrup really thickened in my pan, we're going to just do like a nice little drizzle of that on top too. You could do some, why not, on the squash as well. I feel like I need like one more apple over here or something. There we go. Okay. How awesome and easy was that? Because I rambled a lot in the beginning, right? Like I usually do. And we still made this dish from start to finish. We have our protein. We have a nice, even though it's a starchy vegetable, we still have a nice vegetable over here, a little bit of fruit. You could do some greenery on top of here if you would like. But I am very, very excited to eat that. So let me go ahead and bring my camera back up here. Thank you guys so much for joining me as we went through that. I'm going to reshare my screen. So if you enjoyed today and you're new, you want to see what is on tap for the rest of the week, here it is. Okay. Like I mentioned, Charlotte will be back on tomorrow. talking about apples during Produce Spotlight and making some apple cheddar biscuits to celebrate National Apple Day. On Wednesday, Joni will be on with Table Talk and talking about how to be mindful during the Halloween season and eating. And then Thursday, Jenna will be talking about one of her favorite things, which is pasta, because October is pasta month. And then on Friday, Jenna and I will be wrapping up the week together with boo bags. And if you're like, what is that going to be like? Jenna and I are going to order each other a giant direct bag with some different ingredients that we might think are scary or spooky for the season for some surprises at each other. So that should be a fun Friday morning. If you are free, definitely come hang out with us then. But otherwise, I just, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you take care of the rest of the day and the week. I will see you again on Friday. At this time, I'm going to stop our recording and see what types of questions we have in the Q&A. If you have some others, feel free to add them there. But thank you once again.